Okay, looking now at marketing research, we see on the left there, marketing without data, driving with your eyes closed, which is not to be advised. The problem is, as it says on the right, data never sleeps. Now this diagram's out of date already because it's collating information from LinkedIn and YouTube and Google and Twitter and Facebook and all these sites where information is uploaded and taken. And it's every minute it creates a volume of data, big data as it's called. And firms have to try and keep on top of this. So there's so much information out there. And as Dib Simkin, Pride and Ferrell say, yes, you're trying to find out what your customers and potential customers need, want, and care about. But only works if you ask the right questions to the right people and interpret the results correctly. Marketing Research Society, that's a professional body. There'll be a link on YouTube, just so that you can, not YouTube, on Google, so you can look at it to see what they do and the scope and scale and scope of the marketing research industry. Now, in marketing, we love alliteration, 4Ps, 7Ps, 4Cs. The 4Vs, there shouldn't be an apostrophe in there, of big data. So it's talking about the volume of data, right? There's so much of it. Big data, this is a trend, this is an issue came up in the last 10 years, that not just data, there's so much of it. The variety of it, how it comes in different ways, video, as we mentioned, YouTube, all these things, the velocity of it, the speed of it, but more importantly, the veracity. How reliable is it? Not quite fake news, but can you trust the information you're getting here? Now, as we say here, if marketing is about meeting needs of customers, how do you find it out? Well, it's marketing research. Now, notice this is research into all areas of your marketing. Quote here from the American Marketing Society, which you can read. Another one there about the information. No, you can't remember who that comes from. If you look at the right-hand side, Netflix there, mountain of data. And two things, garbage is 99% of that mountain. Gold is 1%. So you imagine all this, all the big data going through, and you have to sift, you have to mine that information so much to try and get relevant information. And for Netflix, as far as they're concerned, geography, age, gender, they're not interested in that. Where you live is not that important. So that links back to the market segmentation methods, how you do this. Now, just looking here, there's a few examples here why Tesco failed in America. I don't want the video to start. So just to show you different types, measles, mumps and rubella, this 3-in-1 jab, essentially a doctor a few years ago he did research and he observed 30, 40 children whose parents said that their autism, they were autistic, and that was linked to receiving this 3-in-1 jab. And he published a paper in the Lancet putting this forward, and it caused a panic because parents then said, oh, there is a link. The number of children being vaccinated fell significantly, and the government had, thought this is serious. Other research was carried out, I think, in Sweden with 1 million children over 5 years, a very robust marketing, not marketing research, but research led. And what they found is there is no link at all. What they found was certainly when children get the jab, it's around the same time that you notice if they're developing properly, and that the autism would become more noticeable. But it was just coincidental. They said there was no link. They're not, because of the research proved this. So you have to say, what would you trust? Someone who observed 30 or 40 parents who were already convinced the jab caused autism, or 5 years, 1 million children? A further postscript to this is the doctor was struck off because it was also revealed that he gained money. He was selling the jabs individually and he had shares in the company, so he was profiting from it as well, which makes the research, you can't trust it here. Fresh and Easy, that links to that's Tesco in America. That was the name they chose. They did everything right. They sent executives to live with families in America. They spent hundreds of millions of dollars in the research. They even set up a fake store and pretended it was a movie set in case it alerted anyone to what they were up to. And they were monitoring people going around this store, what they were buying and how they moved. So they did everything right, but they still didn't succeed in America because maybe they were asking the wrong questions. So the video there, which is on the YouTube, you should be able to watch that. Tenant Special is another one. Time I took part in this myself. Tenant Special was a new beer. I think they had another beer they wanted to replace it with. And what you did is you went along to this working man's club on a Monday. You answered a few questions, so they took your data, etc. They took your, gave you a number. When you go to the bar, they'd say, right, you take a pint of Tenant Special. The next time they went up, get your number. See, you would drink the old beer they were replacing. Go up a third time, and they'd maybe give you the competitor's beer. And then after that, from Monday to Wednesday, free beer. But you had to tell them which one you were choosing. So they would monitor what you actually did, right? Not what you said you'd like, what you actually did. And then they would back it to see, okay, the people who like this beer are the people who drink, this age group, etc., how much they drink per week. And it was launched in the market and has been there ever since. Now, the link between Tesco and the A-Team, movie industry also involved in marketing research. Sometimes they'll test screen a movie, they'll put it out there, see what the audience think, and in some cases they might change the ending, as they did with Little Shop of Horrors. They changed the musical ending there, or they might even replace an actor. They might think, that actor's not working, people didn't like him, and reshoot the scenes. It can be that serious. The A-Team was one where they thought the movie would work, would get a lot of money, but it didn't. They were puzzled, they did the research, and what they found with the post-film research was women thought it was a man's film, right? Maybe through they saw the trailer, they saw the poster, they thought it was a man's film, but when they saw the film, they thought, oh no, it's not like that at all. But by that time, it was too late. So they realised the problem was with their pre-movie publicity there. So different areas of marketing research, different shows you the scale and importance of undertaking it. It doesn't guarantee success, but it might help you make better decisions. This slide here is just to show you how, just really some marketing research. You can be intuitive. Sometimes you might, you don't need marketing research, you just feel. So if you look at the right hand side, it's a gut instinct, from experience, and maybe try and see what happens. So that's for low risk problem solving. But Tesco couldn't have gone into America with this, and the tenants wouldn't have launched their beer like this. So on the left-hand side, it's more about formal planning. It's systematic. Yes, gut reaction is good here, but this is more long-term. Now, types of research bring up here. We're going to look at two types. First one is quantitative, and this is really, it's about numbers, right? So sales data, market share, complaints, viewing, anything that has a number that you can say, oh, I can see the difference. And there's a quote there. This is true that white evangelical support for Donald Trump, 73%, and more than 80% of white evangelicals voted for him. Oh, and that should be 2016, was it? It seems a much longer time there, not 201. So that's quantitative, that's numbers. So you say, right, give me the numbers, and that's what they'll analyse it here. And of course, if you're looking for numbers, football fans always argue who's the biggest football club, etc. Well, here's maybe more evidence. Football clubs in social media. So it's looking at Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. If you look here, from Real Madrid up here. The one on the right was, I think, from the Daily Record, and it was Facebook and Twitter for Scottish Premier Leagues. Now, that's a few years old. It might have changed, but it's numbers. So if you're looking to think, oh, how big are Inverness Caledonian Thistle? So you look at this and think, oh, they've got 10,000 on Facebook, compared with Real Madrid's 222 million. Not really comparing. So quantitative is about numbers, qualitative is the opposite. So it's open to interpretation, it's an opinion, right? So it's about motivation, attitudes, beliefs. So it doesn't go in for the large scale research, a bit like the Tenants Lager and the Swedish research into measles, mumps and rubella. It's more focus groups, which we'll come to later. You can see the quote from Einstein. don't know if I'm moving that last slide too fast, but so qualitative research would ask you, what do you think about this advert, right? What's your feelings? Does it make you laugh? How do you feel about it? They might ask a question, if your brand was at a party, how would it behave? Would they be in the centre of attention? Would they be in the kitchen? Would they be quietly organising? These are the things you couldn't really get this information from a questionnaire, from qualitative research. It's more about how you feel here. And where would the president go on holiday? Links to Bill Clinton on a horse up there, because the research and the focus group said, oh, he'd be with all these rich people, and so he said, oh, well, they then had Bill Clinton go on holiday for a few days in a ranch, made sure he was filmed on a horse, so that people could say, oh yeah, that's he's one of us type thing, if you're into horse holidays on ranches, etc. So this is where you base this information on this. Tony Blair is a lion, William Hague is a pussycat is one from years ago, but I love, essentially, the Conservatives had lost a few elections, and the people, when he asked about William Hague was a Conservative Party leader, and they said, what kind of animal would he be? So Tony Blair was a lion because he was strong and protective. That was his image. William Hague was a pussycat. This cat wasn't harmed in the making of that picture. And he was not, it was almost a joke figure. But what they then did was they then showed William Hague in action, and the House of Commons question time, etc. And people said, oh, actually, I've got it wrong. He's more, stronger, etc. So they were able to prove that people had a negative opinion of him because they hadn't seen William Hague in action. Didn't help him win an election, but this is what they would do from a focus group. So these kind of questions, a party, an animal, opinions. It's not true. It's just what people think. Now this here, collecting the data, so we're looking here at primary data collection and secondary data collection. And what do you collect first? Secondary data, because it's already out there. The campaign live story, you'll be able to read that for horror stories, what can go wrong with this. So we're going to work through these ones here for the secondary data, internal and external sources, and we'll look at this. So secondary data, internal, desk research, right? So that can be sales records, customer feedback, financial, anything. You look at, well, this is a great product, then you see all these letters of complaint, and you can see it online as well. So information firms hold about you, they'll send you information on your birthday, they know where you live. I've noticed a thing recently with firms, and they're actually, before they send out promotion for, say, Mother's Day and Father's Day, they're asking, trying to establish, is this incentive? Let us know and we'll take it off the mailing list. So all these things, date of birth, address, gender, previous purchases, that's information. So a lot of it is internal. Getting a hold of it might not be easy, especially in much larger organisations. Because remember, the data mining, there's so much information out there. Now, internal was the desk research, but external is other people have collected it. And might be of interest to you. Now, this could come from trade journals up here. So I think there's one, the Bin Drivers Weekly or something like that. So there's one about refuse vans. It could be anything and everything. Specialist magazines, trade associations, international sources, United Nations, the EU could be out there. One of most interest to us could be commercial sources like Mintel, Verdict. Now Mintel is available. They offer certain reports and we get them free, so I'd strongly advise you to look at Mintel on the library and access their reports, and I'll show you about specific markets here. Otherwise you'd have to pay for them. The government collects a lot of information. You can get it from books, databases, but obviously the internet. How many times do you Google something, right? So this could be information, but the problem, we'll look at the problems with this external secondary data. So problems here is expensive, right? The Mintel reports can be very expensive. They might say, yeah, here's a report, but you need to pay for it. It's not specific to your needs. So it's not asking questions about your brand, but it's telling you about the market, etc., the people in that market. It could be biased. So for example, if you read that research has indicated women are more attracted to men with beards, can appear more intelligent, you might think, wow. Men might think, I'm growing a beard. Women might be thinking, really? But if then you find that information came from the National Association of Bearded Men, I don't know if such an association exists. That would be NABM. Well, they can make the research appear to be what they wanted. So be suspicious of it. You think, really? So maybe they've manipulated the figures a wee bit. Maybe you'd ask, well, what questions did they ask? And when did they ask? And how many did they ask? Because you don't know. Other problems here is it can be out of date. Right, so if you had a report indicates teenagers prefer listening to music on their Walkman, you see a kid there with a cool jumper, looks really nice. You think Walkman, who's a Walkman these days? Because it can be out of date, and the speed of technological change so fast these days. Or you'd ask the methodology, a bit like the measles, mumps, rubella, and the Swedish investigation and the doctor. How was the research collected, and what questions did they ask? And you might be thinking, why on earth is that picture in the bottom left-hand corner? Well, here's you go. If you read something like this, a recent survey, 100% of Americans, you think, whoa, what is going on there, right? You think that can't be true, and you'd ask, how did you get that information? And what if they said, oh, we went in this room, all these guys were here with the pillowcases, seemed nice guys, and we asked them a question, and that's what they said. So you would think, no, that's not right. So the thing about the external data, right, is biased, it's out of date, and the methodology can be very, very suspicious. So that's the secondary data. Primary data, you go out and collect it, okay? So that needs your information here. So if you look, even these ones, how did we do in store? We click the happy face. If you look at the receipt up there, it's saying, how is your experience in this restaurant just now? And they're given an incentive for future. So it's not just, what do you think of eating in this place? It's asking, what was your experience in this restaurant on this particular night? And that's primary data here. So what different ways we look at obtain different ways we can obtain primary data. I think I talked too fast and lost the transition there. So there's the focus groups we mentioned before, like, with Bill Clinton on a horse. And these are things, small groups of people, an open discussion, the moderator's there. You might record it either with a tape or maybe observe someone videoing it through a two-way mirror. And there's open questions and you get an incentive. And the Guardian link there, the myth of the focus group, very in-depth reading here. One example with the Clydesdale Bank, they phoned up to say focus group, and they gave it as soon as you turned up, £50, and iron brew and the biscuits. So when you go in and they're asking questions, they would try to involve everyone, and something about a sale for a promotion, and if you filled this account, if you took an interest, you could win a cookbook or something like that. And people were thinking, yeah, that's okay, and the good amount. I thought, cookbook, who's interested in that? And they asked, and I said, well, it does nothing for me. And then they said, well, here's something we prepared earlier, as it were. And there was an alternative. They said, what about this for this account? A trip to New York. And people, oh, yeah, that's much better. Some guy, I like the cookbook. But it changed it, and it was really open questions. How do you feel about this? What does it make you think? And that's it. You just give your opinion. There's no right or wrong. One guy liked the cookbook, others didn't. That's just the way it goes, and the moderator makes sure everyone's involved, because you've got to earn your £50 expenses. So these are focus groups here, and that could be a way, but it's a skill trying to read them. So you might duplicate it. You might have maybe 3 or 4 or 5 focus groups in different parts of the country trying to find out, did they all say the same thing? So these are things about observations. So you can do it by surveys, and they've all got advantages and disadvantages here. You can face-to-face a questionnaire, can come to your house, can stop you in the street. They can do it by email. Email is quite common these days, but mail is less common. It can be online. It can be the telephone. Different advantages. And in fact, if you look to the right-hand side here, the Jerry Hassan tweet here, and it was the EU reference. He said there was a phone poll that gave the Remain party an 8% lead, and there was an online poll that gave the Leave party a 4% lead, and that one was actually right. So there it is, the same questions, the same company, but you've got different outcomes between the phone and the online. So this is why the margin of error can be important here. Observation is another one. Just look and see what's happening. Mystery shoppers, do you think it's a customer? It's not. It's someone is actually recording what you do or say and how good the service was. Ethnographic is you embed yourself with a group of people. If your target market is young females and you want to know how they behave out in the town, well, you might have someone go and join them to blend in and say, what did they do? Because I think customer behavior can change. It could, some cases you might, one guy embedded himself with a Glasgow gang in the 60s, and he pretended he was a gang member for about 6 months or so. So ethnographic. Netnography is seeing what's online. What do people say on Facebook, on TripAdvisor? What do they say on your own webpage? Look at that here. Experimentation is when you can try something. Let's lower the price and see what happens. A depth interview, one-to-one interview here, and consumer purchase diaries get people to write down exactly what they purchase, and people may not realize, oh, I spent so much time either watching TV programs or doing this or doing that, so they write down their purchase habits. So now in all these options, basically, what's the cost, what are the benefits? And you've got to watch out for the biasness here. Do you trust them? Can they modify questions? You down the right here, girl's asking a question, could be about hair products, and if she's got a guy who's bald, she thinks, oh, I'll skip that question. But if that's on the phone or online, they don't know that. Is it taken seriously? And I don't think this dog is taking this account seriously at all. I just would not trust him one little bit. In-depth questions, which you might not be able to do on the street. Maybe it's a depth interview for this. So response rate, even in a mail survey, 2% would be a great response, because a lot of people know I'm not interested here. So these are all the points here for the issues about questioning, about your choice of primary research methods.